Evening and welcome once again to Gaming Under the Influence. I'm Mike here with Alex, coming to you from GreenDragonCVR in Woodbridge, Ontario, to talk about video games.
Oh yeah.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm not so bad. I figured, though, after a couple of weeks of fucking just depressing negativity in the video game space.
Yeah, a lot of bad news going around.
Yeah, a lot of bad news.
Trash,
failed projects,
garbage. Microsoft playing this victim card. Like, oh.
Miserable state of the industry, but what's not in a miserable state is the medium. Video games are better than they've ever been, and I think we can talk about 4 of the best games that have come out so far in 2023 to prove it to you fuckers.
Yes, sir. What's
and I think the first one that we should talk about is Hogwarts Legacy.
It has to be Hogwarts Legacy.
Has to be Hogwarts Legacy.
Hit, you know, for a fucking first time a Harry Potter game has come out in years and years and years, and the history of licensed games sometimes being
branded
just
horseshit.
Garbage, right? For this to be a solid hit and actual like engrossing RPG is such a win for the industry, for the Harry Potter fans, for fans of just games, RPGs. Like, you can go on forever about it. And like, it's pretty much guaranteed, you know, a sequel coming down the pipeline. I think it sold $1 billion worth of fucking, like,
it's sold more than we don't even need to look into how much it sold. It doesn't even matter. It's just a shitload of money. But I think like the thing that it's, you know, surprised me the most is that it's a well executed licensed product. Like, it's an active world building in this, you know, fucking world that the game makers didn't create, that nonetheless like uses that world as like pre-existing matter for building a new and interesting game that I've never seen the likes of before myself. Right,
definitely.
It was an incredible act of world building. Like, just inhabiting that fucking space was awesome, man. I loved being in that game more than anything else. And it wasn't just the fucking castle, which I haven't even explored thoroughly. You know, there's so many like, you know, the fast travel points around the I haven't even gotten most of them. Like half of them I haven't even seen.
I noticed that too when I was like getting towards like halfway through the game. I was like, I still haven't seen a lot of the castle. I guess I just don't have. There's a lot of exploration.
There's much exploration.
It's a staggering thing, that game.
And the map is huge, dude. It's not even just the castle. It's this huge like swath of Scottish countryside, essentially. All the way to the coast, you know, the Forbidden Forest, like all these little villages and hamlets. It's incredible, man. It's an incredible
and it doesn't
world.
feel overblown. There's stuff to do. There's, you know, it's just
you can knock it out with most of the, you know, important side quests in about 35-40 hours, which I believe is what it took me to finish that game. There are, of course, you know, the kind of like laundry list of distracting side activities that you tend to find in open world games these days, like collecting pages for a book or whatever. But
that's all fluff. Like, I mean, you know, if you're really into it, you get down to that. But for most people, whatever. Just
remarking on the you know, the written, like what I think of as the written content, like the story content, the side quests that have like character interactions and stuff like this. Incredible game in terms of its world building and writing, and the gameplay we should fucking mention too, like some, you know, weird like mix up of action RPG and Souls-like. Of like conventional open world action RPG
parrying
mechanics.
It has the roll. You know, like it's hilarious. And playing on hard, you do get some of the sense of like difficulty and some encounters.
It's a little bit more difficult, for sure.
Maybe on normal it'd be easier, but I played it on hard.
I finished it on hard too. It wasn't that difficult, but I mean, it was a
bit more of a challenge than just coasting,
a comfortable difficulty. All around an incredible game. The only thing I didn't like about it, man, if there's one complaint, there wasn't any bosses, you know?
Lack of bosses and just
that's really one thing that I, you know, it would have been cool to see some kind of like, you know, 4 or 5 interesting boss fights.
Sort of repeating ones. Instead, we came through.
We just got those statue things and like Rookwood and that dragon at the end. But, you know, a couple more bosses and I think it would have been excellent, even in that capacity. But overall, like, I loved Hogwarts Legacy. I loved inhabiting that world. I remember the first day I jumped into that game and just explored the Slytherin common room. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Sitting down next to this harpsichord that's just playing on its own.
That game was definitely a special. It was fucking
incredible. Even if the story sucked ass, just inhabiting that world would have been worth doing in and of itself.
That's the thing. And I wouldn't say it sucked ass. It was like, you know,
it was pretty
I wouldn't say it was amazing either, but it was serviceable to carry the world and everything. I think it
was competent, I think,
you know,
the world building as distinct from the story is really what I think is the strong suit.
Yeah, that was probably the carry of it all, but it shows what you can do with an existing IP if you make your own thing out of it instead of just trudging out the same tired thing over and over.
That's
right?
Exactly right.
But
that's exactly right.
That's why Hogwarts Legacy is the first game we were talking about as the best of one of the best of.
I think uncontroversially, it's one of the best games.
Yeah, that I don't think
so far.
Yeah.
Nobody would really dispute that unless you have some laughable political inclinations.
Yeah, we'll leave that out.
Yeah.
What's
number 2?
Number 2.
Speaking of which, is Atomic Heart.
Yeah,
another fantastic game. That
great open world game.
Came out of left field for me. Heavily evokes BioShock, as anybody who's even vaguely acquainted with it will know. Especially BioShock Infinite, the opening levels. One giant reference to Infinite.
Yeah, it really is.
To my estimation,
It does give you tons of Infinite vibes, being in the sky and sort of descending down.
I'm sure that was intentional. And right at the end, there's a part where you go down into a underwater fucking area or something, and the guy's like, wow, this is Rapture. You know what I mean? It's not.
Oh my god, no way. They directly Easter egged it. That makes sense though. It really is.
It's a BioShock reference.
Yeah, it really is an open world game that feels like a
inspired by BioShock
successor.
That's right.
And
just like BioShock, the cool thing about this game is they take some core idea or conceit, and in BioShock it was this like fucking totally uncontrolled like capitalistic desire for fucking self-advancement, this like Ayn Randian
anything
philosophy.
You want.
Right. And here
the money.
There's this like fucking advanced version of the Soviet Union where the Russians developed advanced robotics and are like planning to take over the world.
AI thing or something, right?
Yeah, some interesting alternate history with a fucking ideological basis that the game developers extrapolate on and use to design the world, and that's what makes it interesting to inhabit and explore. And this game takes place in the wake of like this you spend most of the game rather exploring this facility on this island somewhere isolated from the rest of society, this area in the mountains, and it's after the robots have killed everybody, essentially.
Oh, okay.
So you're walking around fucking fighting all of the robots that have turned on the people who created them, and you find out about this plot by the Russian government to fucking sell these robots to other countries and use them to orchestrate a worldwide like revolution against their enemies and all this crazy shit. So
wow.
And it plays like BioShock 2. There's like fucking kind of sorceress powers and different guns that you can modify and add parts to and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's got those like weird steampunk almost looking guns that kind of seem like they're futuristic or have like some kind of retro tech. I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of the imagery and like you said the concept just scream BioShock,
Yeah, and it's got this really distinct aesthetic that evokes fucking like
Soviet.
Yeah, I guess Soviet art and architecture.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was not
cool.
intentional.
Yeah, it's cool to see because it's a little bit of a change from what you usually get.
Of course. And I remember when this game, leading up to this game's launch, people were like complaining that it like glorifies the Soviet Union and communism, but it definitely doesn't.
That was a reach. Yeah,
it's like hypercritical.
Absolute reach. Actually. Exactly.
Dude, the whole fucking plot line was, and this is obviously a spoiler, is that this like fucking wizard like doctor who you work for, who's conducted like the building of all of these robots and instituted this like fucking neural network that all the Soviet citizens are going to be a part of, like, which this neural network is essentially an analog for communism, and fucking it turns everybody into like a mindless drone. And there's a part where like this doctor involved in the production of this like fucking chip implanted in people's heads that helps them participate in this neural network. She's like, oh, this is a communist society, stand up, and they're all fucking in their underwear just like it's not fucking in any way.
They're not glorifying fucking communism. Yeah, I think there was a reach of people just trying to kind of I guess attack the game.
I think they just hated the developers because they're Russian.
Yeah, exactly.
What you would call racism in any other context, but
essentially that's not what what it turned out to be. And I even watched Skill Up's review, and he even said it too. The first thing he said is, I want to address this is not some kind of fucking, you guys are wrong about that. It's not glorifying anything, communism or anything like that.
It's hypercritical of the entire concept.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's hypercritical not only of like the notion of a fucking, I think even almost ham-fistedly critical. Like it's almost like crude in the way it uses this like neural network as a fucking metaphor for communism. It's almost like a crude. It's not only critical, but it's crudely so. It's like something that somebody on fucking some American like Reddit would conceive, right?
Yeah.
Like, and on top of that, it's even critical of the idea of like a fucking this philosopher king, like doctor guy, like fucking engineering robots and like its politics are not what people thought at all. But
awesome game though.
Awesome game. Yeah.
Cool open world, kind of different style of setting, and even the combat was very difficult, and there was a lot of melee involved because you didn't get a lot of ammo. Like it forced you to kind of work outside of the box a little bit rather than just being like your standard open world shooter where you're just fucking pumping bullets and everything. It was interesting.
There's even enemies that are not susceptible to fucking arms fire.
Yeah.
You have to engage them with melee.
Have to fuck around and like like we said, it's like BioShock in that sense where you kind of use the environment a little bit and powers to fuck around with stuff. It's a cool interactive thing, right?
Yeah, there's even hacking puzzles. The game, everything about it is very much.
The puzzles were insane. I remember them being pretty difficult, and actually, they required a little bit of thinking and they were struggling for some. Yeah, like
they were difficult for sure.
Yeah, cool, refreshing game. Nice to see. It's.
I think though, like compared to Hogwarts Legacy, of that one I said the world building is the strength and the writing was subpar. Here I think the writing, although like I just said, some of the stuff like fucking seems kind of ham-fisted to me. Like overall, I think it's very well written actually.
Right.
I thought it was a very well written game, a well conceived story, and the world building was awesome. The gameplay was also good. I enjoyed playing it, and it wasn't too long. Didn't overstay its welcome for me.
Beautiful.
Took about 22 hours to beat, I think.
Yeah.
So I really liked Atomic Heart, and that's number 2.
Sweet. What's number 3?
Number 3, I guess, probably in chronological order is what we're going in. It would be Wild Hearts.
Wild Hearts
came out just a few days after. The great thing about the last games, they came out within a few days of each other, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it released later, but we just played it later because we were busy.
I think it came out on the 17th of February.
Fair enough.
And Atomic Heart came out on the 10th. So and Hogwarts Legacy came out maybe a few days before that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, so we didn't even dive in until like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, in the middle of April, I think we started playing it, but close to the end right now. And it's an excellent game too.
Yeah,
man.
I'm not a huge like Monster Hunter fan, but I instantly like felt kind of at home, like it was a Monster Hunter game, even though I've only played World and
that's right,
and Rise. But
I've only played those two as well, and I can't say I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, although I did like those two games.
I did like those two as well, and I felt right at home here. Just that, for sure, both Monster Hunter incredibly, and it's sick to see like a EA kind of green light a fucking team to make a Monster Hunter like game, right? It's kind of kicking off or has been kicked off since the Souls like thing, now we're seeing all kinds of likes of other style genres, and to see like a Monster Hunter, because it's not really a genre, right? It's just one game, but to see it being aped in some way and made a competent entry by somebody else, it's cool, right? You
especially
get to
at that scale,
like
we saw things like that God Eater game before, which are kind of similar.
True, like Soul Sacrifice on the Vita and stuff like that, but
Suikoden or whatever it's called, that other
but nothing like a AAA
true competitor
release like this, right?
Yeah, there was a couple of things about Monster Hunter that I didn't enjoy in the entries that I played, which is its somewhat plotting nature and the linear fucking area that you're allowed to explore, and the levity of the game too. I don't quite enjoy the tone of Monster Hunters.
Yeah, fair enough.
Of the Monster Hunter games, though I do enjoy like the monsters, right? That's something I really enjoy. I don't like the levity of it. So rolling into this game, one thing I enjoyed was fucking that the tone is different. Right? It's more grave, somber, takes itself more seriously, and it's set in this like historical fucking period in Japan where fucking backwaters area is invaded by like demonic fucking beasts because the ecosystem is changing or some shit like this. So all around, like, I appreciate the tone more. I fucking think the art style definitely compares to Monster Hunter. Like, it's on par with it. There's some designs for the monsters that really stand out, and I can see them in my mind when I close my eyes. Right? They're really, really well designed. But what needs to be said about this game is that it advances like fucking extraordinarily on the Monster Hunter formula in terms of gameplay, right? If the other games like that I just mentioned, their strength was the world building, this game is excellent because it fucking takes the formula of its predecessor and it blows it wide open, man.
That is true. I forgot
fucking
about
plays
that.
so much better than any Monster Hunter I've ever played. Way better, bro. Playing those games, like I just said, is fucking plodding, right? You can only walk on a straight path. When you have to chase a monster, you literally have to walk across the area.
Yeah, it was
right?
only until Rise that you even got the grapple hook.
That's
and
right.
The sick thing was that we felt for a Monster Hunter game exploded the the movement capabilities, but this blows that wide open. It introduces like it
definitely does.
Death Stranding style where you conjure fucking
you build
zip
static
lines
features on the map.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of like what this game has in fucking brief is this system called the Karakuri system, and Karakuri are like summonable objects that your character has this supernatural capacity to manifest in the world, right? And they're divided into two kinds. There's basic ones, basic Karakuri, which you can equip 4 at any given time, and you summon them in the middle of battle, you know?
Oh, yeah,
and you combine them, and they do different things. There's like boxes and fucking gliders and springs and
what's
torches.
that one?
That's a hammer.
Thing called the hammer.
You build a
thing that
hammer by
smashes
stacking
down
3 springs,
yeah.
let's say. And if there's a monster in the air, you can build this firework cannon by stacking 6 torches on top of each other or something like that, you know? And you build like an elemental lantern that negates fucking fire damage by stacking a box, a glider, and a box.
Oh wow!
Like you combine.
I didn't know they get that complicated later.
The basic
on.
ones
Cool.
in up to 6 different. You combine them in up to 6 at once to bring about different effects in the world.
Yeah.
The basic ones, right? And on top of that shit, which is pretty crazy, you can fly with them. You can like fucking. There's a stake that you shoot into the monster and it lets you like zip across the map to start attacking him. Little things like this. They're mostly focused on mobility and attacks. And then there's the fucking. They're called Dragon Karakuri, which are like base fucking elements like fermenting casks and like smokers and tents and cages for birds. There's also like fucking zip lines that you can use to traverse the map super fast. There's like these rolling like car style wheel things.
Oh my god, there's
that you can build.
Much,
there's so much. Yeah, like a huge tree, dude. It's fucking massive.
Yeah, I remember pulling up the screen of things you can build, and there's only like 4 things, but there's like 100 boxes. I'm like, oh my god,
there's
like,
so
what
much. Yeah.
else can there possibly be?
Eventually, you unlock like 8 basic Karakuri.
Oh, okay.
And you have to like fucking choose which ones you have equipped at any given time.
Oh.
And then you have a massive menu of like dragon ones, like tons and tons, like 40 of them or something.
Holy.
Like this, and they all serve different purposes, right? Like you build fucking items in your base to refine food to give you better bonuses in combat, and for certain late game weapons you need fucking materials from these pet creatures you catch around the map, so you build cages in your base and you put them in there.
Oh, to capture them.
And there's even this mechanic where you can pay to rebuild like the town after a monster destroys it, as well as to build like different additional buildings. So like you have this fucking great like control over the environment and ability to interact with it in ways you could never do in Monster Hunter. And on top of that, unlike Monster Hunter, where it's just like fucking moving through, you know, hallways and rooms connected to those hallways, here the map is totally traversable, even in ways that sometimes seem to contradict the laws of physics.
Yeah, it has
right?
like Breath of the Wild climbing.
Man. You can climb, and you can shoot a zip line into like some fucking surface that's like on a 30-degree angle, and your guy's just walking up it like no big deal.
Yeah.
Very rarely like does it fucking. There's almost nowhere you can't go.
Yeah.
You know, there's no invisible walls. Like you can fucking go anywhere on these 4 giant maps.
Yep.
That are crazy. They have these set pieces built into them too, like the cool like coastal one, the Isle. I don't remember, Nagadoshi Isle. I don't know what the name is, but it's like this big fucking structure that you don't even know what it is. It looks like a turtle shell, some giant like conical structure.
That's the second one?
Yeah. And like you could see like a monster picked up a fucking ship and fucking gunned it and just through the thing, because you fucking go to this dry area in the middle of the map and there's this boat and this huge hole in the ceiling. You know what I mean? You're like
a fucking airplane went through it.
Yeah, man. Just little features like that, but it fucking totally enriches the experience of just walking around this map and finding stuff like that, right? And you see the habitats of the monsters and the ways that, like, as the game progresses, you know, and the situation where the game takes place becomes more dire, like the monsters start migrating and the environment changes with them. So a map you were in the beginning that used to be like verdant and green is now frozen and vice versa and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
so they mix it up by the end, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, it's great, man. And there's maybe like 20 different monsters, you know, around 20 and different versions of those ones. So it's a pretty good roster relative to a Monster Hunter game.
Man, very ambitious game for whoever
it really
like,
is.
I'm just happy that I could greenlight it.
Yeah, me too.
This could be,
the only thing that it's not as technologically up to par as Monster
some
Hunter
of the
World,
I remember
maybe? I don't know.
Some of the visuals, you know, weren't maybe up to par with like a AAA
with Capcom games
world.
specifically.
Yeah,
Capcom's got some of the best fucking some of the best, art and.
But that's nothing for us. I feel like we've been playing games for our whole lives, and we've seen ugly, and I can still play ugly.
At all. Yeah. And the art style holds up compared to Capcom. It's just that clearly they didn't have the fucking same.
Yeah, they don't have the budget.
The same like fucking technology for building facial animations and shit like this. But then again, like it's not like the faces look bad.
No, it's not bad.
It's all very good.
It's not like cutting edge.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Capcom is pretty up there with their fucking engine, right? Like
I'd say when I play a Capcom game and I look at it, I'm like, bro, this is real. Like,
they have like that photosynthesis shit where they take pictures of everything.
Yeah, photogrammetry. They take pictures of your face.
Fucking idiot. Photogrammetry. Yeah.
Shit. Yeah, it's fucking good, man. But other than that, an improvement on the Monster Hunter formula in every way. In my opinion.
Definitely. It seems so, right?
The next one on the list, probably you should talk about.
Number 4. Where are we? Octopath Traveler 2.
Right.
Yeah, Octopath Traveler 2. I gotta be honest, I haven't sunk my teeth into it as much as I would have liked to, and I think a part of it is because it's so much like Octopath 1, which I love so much. I don't feel like I'm kind of playing the same game, which is great. Oh, yeah? It's an amazing game, honestly, and they've mixed it up, and I feel like I'm not ready right now.
True.
I played maybe about 12 hours or 15 or something like that, and I've gotten to all the chapter 2s for all 8 characters, and I sort of just dropped it, but I still think it's one of the best releases of this year so far. I mean, that's
what I've been hearing a lot of.
A huge RPG, right?
Huge RPG.
Yeah, it's a huge RPG that evokes like the classic Final Fantasies, like the original pixel style ones, but on a more of a grand scale. It's amazing.
How's the story compared to the first one so far?
So far, it's the same style where each character has their own story, and none of them at this point converge into anything. I mean, I think by the end they tie into the same way, sort of like number 1. But the difference this time around is that they've sort of added a little bit more interaction with the characters. So despite the fact that they're just party members and you're completing each one of their own campaigns, they've kind of made it feel a little more cohesive. Like the party members are still there with each other and dealing with the issues together. So I do think it was an improvement over the first, but it's hard to say where the story is going to go because I ultimately haven't played enough of it.
Fair enough.
But from what I've heard and what I have played, it is a phenomenal fucking game.
It did review well, and this RPG, all these RPG groups I follow on the internet there, on Reddit and Facebook and shit, they are going crazy about that shit, buddy.
Yeah, from like the 15 hours or so I played, I can say that I'll probably go through the rest of it, and I don't think my opinion would change. I still feel like it will be one of the better games that have come out this year.
The only reason I haven't put more time into that game is because it's so long,
That's another thing, and that's kind of why I'm discouraged too, because I feel like I really need to just get into it, and I just don't feel like it right now, so it's kind of on the back burner. But
it's hard for me now these days. Like,
it requires a lot of your attention. Yeah, it's just long, right? And
you lose momentum in the middle and you start to just daydream about other things, right?
That's the problem with
that's fatal for finishing a game when you're like, this is one of the best games that have come out so far this year. Yeah. Just based on, the critical acclaim, sure, and like fucking what people are saying about it, yes, but even the idea and its execution, like, to me, that's the standout feature, and like why it's worth paying attention to something like this, right? Like, I know other people have tried this like RPG revival shit before Octopath came along. Like there was I Am Setsuna and I think Lost Sphere, and
I played I Am Setsuna, right? But I felt it was boring. Like this,
Octopath is a different.
It's a different
order of thing. Yeah, like it was an incredible game, man. It was really impressive in many ways. Actually, the writing was good, and there was a lot of writing.
And there's a lot of writing,
and it was a lot of different writing.
Yeah, right? That's true, because each character has their own story. And
I know people complain like there wasn't enough relationships between the characters and shit like that, but they did talk to each other.
You can tell because, like what I said, they did try and add more of that.
Yeah,
but there was some engagement. There was engagement too, and it's optional. And I didn't even do most of it because it's like the character chats, the party chats, but I never really, whatever, right? But yeah, Octopath Travelers 2, definitely a stellar game this year so far.
Yeah.
One to play if you like RPGs, for sure.
100%.
Or old school style RPGs, the original Final Fantasy, the pixel remasters, those 1 to 6, right?
Yeah, man. I think that Octopath and Bravely Default 2, even games like this,
Bravely
are
Default,
they are to JRPGs what things like Divinity: Original Sin and Pillars of Eternity are to CRPGs. Right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Revival.
That's 4.
5 months through the year, there's 4 games.
4 games.
We consider the best so far for the year. And again, there's a few we left off the list because they're a little bit more controversial. But these
honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Forspoken.
Yeah, it's probably well known by anybody who heard the channel that we did enjoy that game.
Fucking loved it.
Didn't want to lead with that because people would think we're trolling.
Yeah, like clickbait. Yeah. We thought it was good. Whatever.
I thought it was great. Yeah. Did like that game. I think Mistlands belongs on here too. Came out on the 26th or some shit like that. Right?
Big one for Valheim fans for sure.
Yeah, Mistlands was fucking incredible. And I guess I'm most looking forward to Final Fantasy 16 and Armored Core, but there's also that Aliens XCOM style fucking tactical strategy game that's going to be cool. I know you're looking forward to Zelda this week.
Zelda, hell yeah. It's going to be Armored Core soon.
Bunch of good games, so
lots of good stuff.
Tune back in maybe next week and we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming games, but there's our list of 4 of the best games that have come out so far in 2023. Thank you and take care.
Oh yeah.